Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Filmmakers Studio. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Hahn.
I'm Brent Arbeiter. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited to have as our guest in studio Jason Schumacher. We're going to be discussing his film, The Telephone Game. Thank you, Jason, so much for being with us.
Jason, thanks for coming in. Congratulations on
you
your film.
guys.
Yes, it's getting phenomenal press reviews and promotion. That's really exciting.
Yeah, the blogosphere has been very kind to us.
The blogosphere, I like
Great.
that one.
I guess.
Let's talk a little bit about your background in writing and filmmaking, and talk about your first film, and then talk about this one, how this one got going, The Telephone Game.
Okay. I guess we were kind of like we had a camcorder growing up, and so like my dad and I'd make videos there, and maybe that's where that interest started. We'd like animate my Legos and stuff like that.
Oh, for real?
In high school, I was in theater and made plays, or was in plays, and I was in an improv troupe, actually with a few of the guys that are in The Telephone Game.
Okay.
Alex and Jesse and Eddie.
Okay.
So the magician and the understudy and the assistant director. So spent high school basically doing everything except my homework.
Okay.
Just doing like all the creative stuff.
Good for you.
Good for you. Good for you.
I went to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Went there for a while, ended up coming back here to work on North Country when that shot here.
Okay.
Went back to school for a little bit.
For the people out there and watching our show, North Country was with Charlize Theron. And
yeah, it was a big movie that came to town, and I was lucky enough to get a small crew role on it.
Right.
So I came back, worked on that for about 2 months, and then went back to Milwaukee, and came back here and decided I was going to take the money I was spending on school and just put it into a film of my own.
Great
I made my
idea.
first little film, Stimulus, with a bunch of my friends.
Great
It was
idea.
feature length.
Talk about Stimulus real quick. You had a funny story about your Google situation.
Oh,
Talk
well, yeah,
about
I
that.
mean, yeah, you used to be able to Google stimulus and my film would come up, and then the government started doing stimulus packages.
So then you got
Killed my Google rankings.
You got
disappeared,
rate,
yeah.
Dropped down the
Next
rating
page,
pool.
next page, next page.
Yeah.
Real quick, you want to touch on Stimulus? Real quick, what it was about, and did it go to some film festivals?
Yeah, it went to a few. It went to one in Canada, the IndieCon Film Festival, and then it played around at the Big Dam Film Festival.
Oh, okay.
Where else did that show?
So it got some exposure.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And then, yeah, it was just my first little movie. It was my kind of trial by fire experience,
Great.
making a film.
Great entry.
Yeah.
So the telephone game, you won an award of Best Cinematography for the Underground Film Festival.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So tell us about the story you're telling in the telephone game.
Well, it's kind of was kind of to marry those interests of theater and film, to kind of bring those back together, and then get some of those friends that I started out making films and being in plays with, to do a project with them. So it started out as this small little thing that I wanted to do with friends, and just kind of exploded into this epic opus that it became, I guess.
Okay.
But the story is about a play being put on, and this director comes to town to this theater company that the owner of the theater company has recently just inherited from her father. So he comes in, and he's got this play, and he's got a reputation, but nobody really understands his play.
Okay.
Except for the lead actress, believes she understands it.
Right.
And of course they start to fall for each other, which puts them further at odds with the rest of production, the crew, and then of course after he casts her, he casts himself in the lead role in the play that he's written and is directing. So he takes on way too much, which is I wouldn't know anything about.
Right.
But
Let's talk about. Can we talk about the title of the film a little bit? Because I know growing up as a kid, a lot of people played something called the telephone game.
Yep.
Where you'd say something, and then somebody else would say something that would go.
Yeah,
all
you
the way
whisper
around
in somebody's
circles.
ear, and then
Right, and then pretty soon it was go. Is that kind of how you based your title on this film from that child's game? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I kind of took that idea very, very generally, in that you start with an idea that, gets passed through the grapevine and then becomes distorted as it goes along and becomes completely altered.
Okay.
So there's a couple variations on that in the film. There's an actual telephone game where people are gossiping, and information about the main couple gets kind of distorted out of hand. Then there's also the play in itself, everybody's ideas of what it's about or what it's going to be, and then what it ends up being, of course, through everybody's input, through the whole cast and crew, and everybody's kind of, involvement in it becomes this completely different thing by the end of the film. And so,
Okay.
so the title has a couple different meanings, but basically it's about, an idea kind of going through a bunch of people and becoming something totally different.
I love
by
it.
the end of it.
Great concept.
So I can't wait to talk about the writing, or rather the
Lack
absence
thereof, yeah.
of writing. So this film was completely improv.
Yep.
Take it from here.
Okay. Yeah, it was, I thought improvisation would be a really great way to kind of show that backstage chaos and to really, get something different, to really make it a truly collaborative process with all the cast. So a lot of the success of, that we've had for the film is owed to them, because all the things you hear are just like straight out of their mouth into the camera.
Right.
And just on the fly. There was an element of, we workshopped quite a bit of things, and
Right.
the film itself started from I wrote I wrote a story. I wrote like a 4-page treatment of what happens
Okay.
in it and who the characters are. Wrote like some character breakdowns. But then what actually happens within the scene and the dialogue itself was improvised.
Okay.
And then there's a play in the film, and that was written by Wes Tank, who plays the writer of the play in the film.
Okay.
So it's actually his play that he wrote. And it's interesting because it was a play that was also, it was similar, it had a similar effect on him as it does to his character in the film. It was a play that was, you know, emotional and important to him, and it made sense to him, but no, you know, other people maybe had a hard time understanding it.
Interesting.
So I'm guessing what you do then is you get the actors together and say, this is kind of what I want to have an idea of.
Right.
And then they would improv it from there. But my
Yeah, we'd usually find a starting place.
You'd have a starting place and say, this is, and then, but my question is then, how would you know when to end it? I mean, would you just shoot for 15, 20 minutes, or would you finally just say, look, it's enough and cut it? Or I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, every scene was kind of a different game in itself. But yeah, we would some takes went on for
Would just go on for
15 minutes. Yeah, where we would the point B that I thought we were going to get to would hit, but I wouldn't say cut, and the actors would start to continue to do stuff, and
Right.
we got great stuff.
But sometimes you get your
So it was
best
just
stuff,
like you're sitting there watching and just fascinated by it all, and they're just like wondering when you're going to cut, and just keep making
But
stuff up.
Let me
So
ask you this, isn't it true that sometimes you get your best stuff when you just let them go and, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Kind of more like an actor's take. You just let them do their
definitely. I mean, this is all actors' takes.
Yeah, the
It
whole
was-
thing was actors'
It was
take,
very much about the actors.
thing. Right.
So
Now, did you reference other films, improv films for this, or did some of your inspiration come from your improv background?
probably more from my improv background. I mean, I did some research into improv, and I've researched it more since having done the film. But yeah, I watched all the Christopher Guest films, which use a lot of improv. Watched a lot of Mike Lee's films, which I know start from a place of improv, and then he scripts them, but then keeps the script, I think, a little bit loose, but he uses that process with the actors, which is maybe more the direction I'll go in the future
Okay.
to streamline the whole process. But
So then your role in the telephone game then obviously was producer, director, and then did you, what
an editor.
An editor. Okay, so
So-
you edited it, produced it,
Yep.
and then directed it. Okay,
Right. So
interesting.
So tell us about your casting process. I mean, you really had to have a strong cast to basically carry the story.
yeah, and I got really lucky in that regard. Also, I started out with those friends of mine that I knew I wanted in it because they just cracked me up, and I think they're funny and great. And so I just started telling people about it and telling people about this idea. And actually, a lot of the dance cast I met on a music video that I was working on with Justin Staggs, who he designed the set pieces, the play pieces, the forced perspective like mine, and the windows and doors and stuff. So he was on it, and that's where I met the choreographer who choreographed the film and plays the choreographer in the film. So I met her there, and I met some of the dancers she'd been working with, and we just got along right off the bat, became fast friends, and they ended up becoming part of it. And then I had some other few people that I'd worked with on other films recently, and then I had a few roles open that I knew I wanted to have, and did a lot of that based on just referrals from them.
Okay.
So we didn't hold a casting call or anything.
You didn't have any
It's
auditions.
just-
Okay.
Yeah, and then Haley, who's the lead actress, I saw her in an improv show that Carrie Ann was in, who was in Stimulus.
Okay.
So I cast Carrie Ann because she'd been in Stimulus, and we've done a lot of projects since.
Okay.
Met Haley at that show, thought she was great. We met and started talking, and
Okay.
she was really interested. And then Wes I went to college with, and he had expressed an interest in doing more acting.
Sure.
And I was like, well, the only part you really fit is the lead.
The lead.
So he's like, oh, I guess
So you-
we'll do it.
Threw him into the fire kind of.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit about the length of the film. I know it's pretty close to 2 hours.
It's
right?
an hour 40.
Hour 40, okay. Was there a method for that? I mean, did you want to do it shorter? Did you want to do it longer? Or did it come out just the way you wanted?
I wanted to keep it close to 100 minutes.
Okay.
Regular feature time.
Yep.
The first edit I think was close to 2.5 hours, almost 3.
Your first edit was almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
So then you obviously had to start chopping.
Chopping it down, yeah. Getting feedback. My sound designer was actually really helpful in that because he was the first actually to see a full cut. I was very, kept it hidden away until I found him to do the sound. I was like, okay, well here it is. And
you know, it's better to have a lot extra and cut it than not have enough, I'm guessing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it was probably a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time to
Right.
get through that process, but
Right.
we got it down. And then on the DVD, there's like a bunch of deleted scenes that are
Okay.
fun scenes, but didn't necessarily fit
Sure.
in the context of the whole narrative.
Right. Sometimes those are the most interesting too.
Yeah. So there's like a short film that's those scenes, kind of an alternate.
So you made a short out of the deleted scenes. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's a cool concept.
So when we were talking earlier, you said you had to shoot this in sequence because of the improv.
Yes.
So take us through that and then the cutting and the editing process that you employed to make this come together.
Well, yeah, a lot of films usually aren't, as you guys know, usually
Right.
aren't shot in order because of locations or
They're
schedules.
shot for efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was not shot for efficiency, I guess. It was shot, since we were developing the story as we went and improvising, we basically had to shoot in order.
Right.
And we stuck a lot to that initial story that I came up with, but it evolved, it evolved as we went on. And then to edit it, yeah, it was just a lot of sitting there and trying to, figure out what went together and what transitioned into each other based on a theme or a plot point, and crafting them. And scenes got rearranged and
Okay.
intercut and moved around in the whole thing.
I have kind of a little bit of an off-the-wall question, but like this year's Academy Award winning film was Black and White, The Artist.
Sure.
Do you think you might catch a little bit of buzz because your film's black and white, that The Artist was black and white? People might start thinking, hey, there's something in black and white films, like maybe a new genre.
Well, it's
have
good
you
that people are
experienced anything
being
like that?
more open to that
Right.
idea. You read a lot, or I've read a lot on what makes a film distributable, and for a long time, black and white was definitely like a negative mark,
Right.
in contemporary films.
But like I say, now with the Academy Award going to The Artist, that's completely
Maybe that'll
changed, open up the doors.
open it up to more black and white films. I love
So-
black and white films. So.
Okay, so you love black and white, but was there also other intentions with black and white to make it seem dated or like it doesn't fit a certain time category?
Yeah, I didn't want it to be necessarily committed to a certain time period or whatever. I just wanted it
Okay.
kind of in this general nostalgic realm that wasn't time specific.
Okay.
So, the whole idea is that it sort of takes place outside of time, that the theater is kind of this nebula, this kind of black void that can become anything, It's like a universe forming from nothing, a big bang or something.
Right.
And so, I wanted it to just be very open-ended as to when it could be taking place, because that really wasn't important to the
Right.
theme or the story.
Okay.
We have a lot of, future filmmakers watching our show. Can you talk a little bit about what you maybe learned from shooting this film, and maybe some advice to some of the younger viewers or people that maybe want to make a film somewhere down the road?
Sure. Well, making a film in black and white definitely unifies your production design pretty quickly. You don't have to worry about colors clashing and
Right. That's
stuff
a
like
good
that.
point. So it's maybe a little easier to do black and white. would you
Can
say?
be, yep.
Okay.
I think you definitely have to have a great cast
Okay.
and whoever you put in front, think long and hard about whoever you put in front of the camera,
Okay.
because they can really make or break.
They can make or break the film. Yeah.
Yeah, and be good to your actors, because
Right.
they can bring a lot if given the opportunity. Film is so technical sometimes that you don't always have the room to explore that with actors.
When you say good, what do you mean for the people that don't understand filmmaking? When you say be good to them, you mean just be nice to them, or let them?
Give them, I guess,
Give
the
them room
opportunity to contribute and
Okay.
create.
Sure.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it. Maybe have some ideas. Okay.
So what did you shoot the film on?
We shot it on an HVX 200, so
Okay.
an HD video.
Okay.
So
And you mentioned that a couple of the actors that you chose you find really funny.
yeah.
So is your film a comedy? Is it a love story? How would you classify the telephone game?
Oh boy, how would you classify the telephone game?
Part comedy, there's definitely the emotional part of it is the love story. I think you really feel the connection.
Yeah. Yeah, part comedy, maybe a little bit of drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of get burnt out on movies that are just one or
Right.
the other.
Exactly.
You
You want to bring a little bit of...
because life isn't like that,
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about what are your hopes for the film? What do you want, ultimately, if you could, choose, what do you want to happen with the film? What's your best case scenario?
I just love to get it out there in any way we can. We'd love to get it on Netflix and
Okay.
just make it available to people. It's available on our website right now, and
Okay.
we're talking to distributors to hopefully expand that reach.
What is your website?
Thetelephonegame.com.
Perfect.
What about film festivals? Do you want to do...
It'd be good. I mean, it's interesting because the people that have seen it, we've had an awesome response, and we've had a great review and blog response. But film festivals haven't been too receptive.
Okay.
So I don't know if they don't know what to do with it
Right.
or what. But that doesn't. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
So right now it's just getting it out there
Just
and
getting it out there and get it showing.
making it available and
Sure.
trying to get people to see it
Okay.
and hopefully open the door to make the next film.
Sure.
You mentioned one of the filmmakers that you admire is Woody Allen,
Yeah.
and you said one of his films shares similarities with the telephone game.
Yeah, Wes had recommended that the lead in the film that I see, Stardust Memories, which is a black and white Woody Allen film. It's very referential to 8.5 by Fellini. So there's definitely some 8.5 influences
Okay.
on the telephone game also.
Okay. Any good stories from the film you want to talk about? Like just anything interesting happen or unique happen?
Oh,
or
everything
a
interesting
lot of
happened.
stuff. But before we go into that, how long did it take to shoot the film? Let's talk about that real quick. And then if you had any good stories from the film.
We shot it over 17 days.
Oh, it was only 17 days.
Yep.
Pretty quick.
Did you shoot every day then?
Yep.
For 17 days? So you shot 17 consecutive
17
days.
shoot days, and then we had a break between Act 2 and Act 3 because I took elements of, well, you'll see in the film, but Act 3 needed a little time to workshop in the middle because it's referencing, of course, referencing Act 1 and 2.
Okay, so just any interesting things happen you might want to touch upon real quick? Anything funny or anything unique? Or
Yeah, wow.
I guess 17 days is not a lot of time for...
I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was a fun group, a lot of friends, and it was, stressful and great and exhausting. Probably the weirdest day of filming, we'd shot a lot that day, and then because of location availability, we had to shoot that night too. All the stuff in the hotel, in Marco's hotel. We had to shoot that night. Well, we'd left from shooting at the stage location, went out for pizza with everybody, and that was the day the 35W bridge went down.
Oh, for real?
And probably half of the cast had just driven over it,
Whoa.
You're kidding.
with minutes before
Oh my God, that's
it went down. So we were all freaking out. We're all trying to call those who had been wrapped for the day, and we're going off to other things and going home, and we're frantically trying to call, and cell phones weren't working because so many people were calling so many people, and we couldn't get a hold of Andrea, the choreographer, and we didn't know where she was, and I finally got a hold of a bunch of people and found out that they were okay. But we were freaked out and we couldn't get a hold of everyone. But we had to keep shooting because So we just kept shooting and calling periodically to make sure everyone was okay.
Wow. So
Fortunately, everyone was.
You shot right through after the tragedy, right after that same night. Then.
Yeah, we had to. But it was the only day we could. We we went the opposite direction towards Stillwater to shoot downtown there.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, minutes before it fell, half the cast had driven across
Well, I
it.
guess that's the story.
And then that night was a weird night too because of course it was our whole crew, which weirdly at that evening our makeup artist had wrapped, so it was like 6 guys and Haley all checking into a hotel room with a video camera. So I think they thought we were shooting a porn or something. But
That's where you were going.
yeah. So it looked probably pretty weird from their perspective, and they're just like, don't stay the night. I'm like, okay.
So we'd love to hear about future projects you're working on.
Okay. I just did a music video with the guys called With a Gun for a Face. They're some local guys. And that got some attention, so we might do another one because we had so much fun doing that.
Right.
That last one. I have a documentary that I want to do. So I'm sort of getting all those elements organized to try to do that.
What's the story you want to share in the documentary?
Oh, you'll have to see.
Oh, he's gonna make us wait.
Yes,
Yeah.
love it.
Love it.
And then I'm with Carrie Ann, who's in the telephone game, as the producer. Her and I are writing a short film that we want to shoot later this summer.
Okay.
So kind of, we started talking and realized that we had a lot of similar experiences growing up as kids in like different neighborhoods and at different times, but
Okay.
and that we'd never seen in films. So
Right.
we want to take those and make a short film out of it
Great.
about a kid's kind of growing up experience.
Okay. Well, Jason, me and Bren want to thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you.
We totally appreciate it. Congratulations on your film.
Thank you.
Good luck with future stuff. Everybody out there, make sure you watch The Telephone Game. Great movie.
Telephonegame.com.
Pretty much all
The
improv.
Telephone.
The actors did a lot of improv on this film. We also want to say that if you or a friend of yours has made a film here in Minnesota, come talk to us, and maybe you can be our next guest on Filmmakers Studio. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm Steve Hahn.
I'm Bren Arbeiter, and we'll see you at the movies.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.